What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Reveal Rob Show. I am, of course, your host, Reveal Rob, coming at you with the latest in news with, of course, your mandatory DC and horror news, as well as anything else I can conjure up here, and, of course, what's releasing this week, and a review, man. Also, if the sound is a little bit different, better or worse, I'm trying out something new, man. I got a headset since the last time we talked, and I'm trying this thing out in the microphone, so if I hit it a couple times, I'm sorry. If I breathe into it or make like a smacking noise into it, I'm sorry. I'm getting used to it. Getting a little fancy as the time goes on. Get into 2 years, man, and now all of a sudden I'm Fancy McGee over here. But I appreciate everybody joining into the show. Hope you're having a good time, enjoying yourself. I appreciate you coming back and listening to the show. I hope you are enjoying the Thrill Me Podcast Network, as that is now in full force with Zach, Wonderful, Brooke. Everything's going over there. We got Zach's Speakeasy Show. We've got Mr. Wonderful Show. We got the Haunters Podcast Show, as well as the YouTube, man. The stuff's going on YouTube with freaking video game play alongs, unboxings. I'm going to be uploading an unboxing tomorrow, actually. As they're recording this episode, tomorrow will be on the YouTube page. So check that out, man. Throw Me Podcast Network on Facebook and on YouTube. Other than that, I was just on my brother's podcast. My brother started up a podcast of his own, which is super awesome. I'm glad he is out there doing a show. It is brand new, so I'm still trying to remember the name of that show. The name of it is The Metal Groove. Yes, The Metal Groove with Tombstone Josh. Um, Check that out, man. It's a show basically that's going to be dealing with mostly music and everything, so that's super awesome and cool. I get to be the first guest on the show, which is, fitting since he and I used to do a show together. And it was a fun time, man. We talked about Studio 666, the Foo Fighters horror movie. So if you want to check out a review on that one, forewarning you, there are spoilers, McGee, all over that thing. So just forewarning you there. But Studio 666, if you're worried about spoilers, I'll go ahead and tell you, yes, see the movie. It's a fun time. But speaking of me and watching movies, man, since the last time we talked, I watched a ton of movies. You see in the title that we're going to be reviewing Nightmare Alley, so we'll talk about that later. But I also watched like a ton of movies since the last time we talked, man. I finished up watching Gremlins. I because I saw a post that Netflix was getting rid of Gremlins. I'm like, I need to watch that again. I want to check that out. And of course, Corey Feldman's in that movie, which go to a whole other side talk. I don't understand why Corey Feldman does get work, but other actors get a lot of work when they've been in trouble and all that stuff. I don't get it, man. But it's hard to watch an 80s movie and not see Corey Feldman, which is, he was a huge star back in the day. So it was cool seeing him in that movie. It's cool watching Gremlins again, man. Just the whole idea and the feel of it, and just the Gremlins animatronics are like better than most of the CGI stuff we see today. So it was cool watching Gremlins, getting introduced to that, and getting into my headset about Halloween Horror Nights and the rumors for a long time that it could be a haunted house at one of the HHN events is an interesting idea. And second time watching it, it seems like it could actually work out pretty well as an HHN house. So if they did end up doing that this year, as it's been rumored, I'm into it. I also watched Interview with the Vampire. I think it changed. There's like that Mandela effect. I think it used to be Interview with the Vampire, or what it's like Interview with the Vampire. Whatever, dude. Tom Cruise is a vampire. Enough said. Brad Pitt, vampire. Kirsten Dunst, vampire. Great movie, man. That was my first watch ever with that movie, which is shocking. You all know I love Tom Cruise, but it was my first time ever watching that movie. I had a good time, man. It was a really good story and interesting concept and fun movie throughout, man. So I definitely highly suggest that. It's no longer on Netflix, unfortunately. But, you know, if you can find it, go ahead and check that out. Also, stuff that was leaving a streaming service that I need to finish up was the Boris Karloff collection over on the Shutter. So I got to finish that up, man. Bride of Frankenstein, first ever time watching that. Son of Frankenstein, House of Frankenstein, and Black Sabbath. And all four of those I enjoyed. And fun fact, Black Sabbath, you're thinking, isn't that a band name? Yes, it is. The band got their name from that movie. So all four solid films. I enjoyed all of them. It was a little weird. One of them, can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was House of Frankenstein, had Boris Karloff in it, but he wasn't the monster. He wasn't Frankenstein's monster. It kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm like, that's a little weird. I didn't expect that. I didn't know characters changed and actors changed and playing characters. I mean, obviously, Batman, which we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, has had multiple actors play him. But I just didn't process in my head at the time, like, why would Boris Karloff not be playing the Frankenstein's monster when Boris Karloff's still alive? It was weird. But enjoyable nonetheless. I mean, all the films were enjoyable. It's just something about that time period, man, where horror films are just, they're so, it's just like they're great. It's hard to say that they're are all of them great. No, is there some things you can probably pick on? Sure, but I mean, you think about that time frame, and you think about the period and how huge movies like that were back in the day. Brilliant, man. So I had a great time with all of that. And that's not it, man. I watched even more movies over the weekend. I hung out with a buddy of mine. We watched Fast 9. He's like, you gotta watch it. I'm like, because I'm not the biggest fan of the Fast series, but I watched it. It was a fine movie. I mean, it's outlandish and ridiculous as it is. And it kind of felt like it was on for a while. So it's, I'm not a fan of the series. I'm sure people out there love it and have a good time with it, but for me, it's whatever. And then after that, we watched some movie called The Sitter, not Jonah Hill's The Sitter. It was another sitter where it's like a freaking person moves in, becomes a living maid, and freaking, yeah, she falls for the dead and all that stuff. It's a crazy movie. It might have been a Lifetime movie at some point in time, but it was like, hey, we want to watch a crazy horror movie. That was there, and we're like, cool, watched it, and it's actually really enjoyable. And then watched Free Guy. Got to see Free Guy again, and this is my second viewing since seeing it in theaters. I gotta be honest with you, second time around, I think I enjoyed it even more than the first time. I did a review episode a while back. You can go check that out. Um, and I enjoyed it then, and I enjoyed it even more this time around. I think it's a really well done movie. It's a good idea playing the NPC, non-playable character, giving him a storyline in the film and all that stuff. It's a good time, man. That's on Disney Plus now, so give that a check out. And I think that's all I watched, right? Since last time? No, actually. Guess what, y'all? I know you've been waiting. I watched Riverdale. I finally got back to Riverdale, but unfortunately didn't get all the way through it. I watched like the first half of episode 4 of Riverdale. Thoroughly enjoying it still, man. I really like this show so far. So, gonna finish that up. Hopefully, you'll have more. I don't know. I don't want to spoil things. I don't know how much I can really talk about what's going on with the show, but I personally am enjoying it. I think it's good. I like the mystery of it, and I like where we're trying to figure this out and figure that out while there's like multiple storylines going on, and I like it, man. I'm enjoying it. So the CW, I've always kind of enjoyed their shows. I remember going back in time with I watched One Tree Hill, which was mostly I watched that because I had a crush on Sophia Bush. But I mean, the show was fine. And then, of course, you've got the Arrowverse shows or the Berlantiverse or whatever you want to call it shows. Those have been good and everything. So I'm into it, dude. And, it's great. And I'm hearing myself like echo in my head. So I hope the audio is good here. Again, this is a first time tryout. I don't normally listen back to my episodes, but I will listen back to this one a little bit to see how the sound is. I feel like I'm just smacking in y'all's ears the whole time, and I'm sorry if I am. New times, baby, new things. But other than that, man, not much really going on. Just trying to get up and going. Like I said, I just recorded an unboxing video. Going to try to figure some other things out. I bought this headset to hopefully play some video games. We got the WWE 2K22 game coming out actually next week. So hopefully I'll be able to go live playing that on the YouTube and we can interact that way while you watch me get my ass kicked in the wrestling ring, probably. But other than that, man, let's get into the news, shall we? Starting it off with, of course, our mandatory DC news. Not a whole lot of DC news going on right now, other than the fact that the Batman comes out this week, baby. It's here, finally. Oh my God, finally, Robert Pattinson. Pattinson. We can finally see it in action. Almost 3 hours worth of it, and I'm here for all 3 hours, man. Already got my ticket spot ready to go Thursday night. Going to see that movie. So excited. Like I've been all for this idea since they announced him as casting, and I've just been following it as the time's gone on. This is going to be a great time, man. I'm super stoked, super excited about it. I know on the Thrill Me podcast network, Zach is going to be doing what is it, Rocket League? They're releasing the Batman car is being added to the game. I don't know much about Rocket League. It's like Demolition Derby, but with soccer, I guess. But he's going to be doing that. He just put a video up of him playing the Ghostbusters car and doing trivia. So Batman, he's going to be doing that later on this week on the Throw Me Podcast Network. So be sure to check that out. You'll get updates, of course, on the Facebook page and all that as well. Just make sure you subscribe, baby. Just make sure you subscribe. Not describe. Subscribe. We'll describe what we're doing. But yeah, that's going on. We're having a good time with that. The Batman, man, can't wait to watch that and then talk about it. Also, a little bit more DC news here is that Lex Luthor, DCEU's Lex Luthor, is rumored to be in the Batgirl HBO Max film, and we'll see if that movie stays on HBO Max because Michael Keaton is a big deal right now, so that might bump it up to theaters. But I mean, Michael Keaton's always been a big deal. Come on, but you know what I mean. So we'll see if that gets moved up like they did with Blue Beetle. But it's being highly rumored now that Lex Luthor's going to pop up in this Batgirl film. I don't know what he has to do with it. I don't know what they'll have to do there, but it seems like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is still around in the DCEU. So we'll figure out where we're going there. And that's actually, like I said, that's it for the DC news, man. So let's go ahead and move over to some releasing information. We've got film release dates coming at you and digital release information coming at you. Starting it off here with Universal has announced April 14th, 2023 for the release date of Renfield. That is the monster movie starring Nicolas Cage, Nicholas Hoult, and Aquafina. This is a modern monster tale of Renfield, played by Nicholas Hoult, the loyal but tortured aide to history's most narcissistic boss, Dracula, played by Nicolas Cage, who is forced to procure his master's prey and do his ever bidding, no matter how debased. um, but now, after centuries of servitude, Renfield is ready to see if there's a life outside of the Prince of Darkness's shadow. If only he can figure out how to end his codependency. It's gonna be interesting, man. I mean, the whole focal point is Nicolas Cage is playing Dracula. That's gonna be crazy, man. Nicolas Cage is doing crazy things. Um, and he has a movie coming out where he's playing Nicolas Cage in like an amped up version. That's gonna be a fun movie, man. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but that's gonna be a pretty fun movie to check out. Um, honestly, I can look it up while I'm talking to you. But yeah, that's cool, man. Especially after watching like the older films that I've been watching recently, it's really cool to think about what's coming up. And I mean, it's gonna be a good time, man. And just to see Dracula back on the big screens would be cool. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is the movie I was talking about with Nicolas Cage is coming up. That just seems like it's gonna be hilarious. Let me see if I get a release date for y'all real quick here. Release date April 22nd, 2022. So it's not too far off until that comes out. But that looks like it's going to be a good time. Check out the trailer for some good laughs, man. It's pretty funny. So Renfield is hitting theaters April 14th, 2023. There's a train going by in the background, so if you can hear it, awesome. If you're not, then this headset is doing wonders right now. Let's see. Other release date information. Disney has set their next Haunted Mansion movie for a theatrical release on March 10th of 2023. The film will star Tiffany Haddish, Owen Wilson, Rosario Dawson, Danny DeVito, and Lakeith Stanfield, um, based off of the theme park attraction ride. I mean, that cast very much screams comedy, and that's a kind of a worry here. The Haunted Mansion doesn't. There's some laughs you can have in the Haunted Mansion, but it's mostly spooky, and I don't know how I feel about this. I don't want to typecast them as all comedic actors. They can do other things, obviously, but those names just they read off like, oh, the first thing you think about with them is comedy. So I think they didn't learn their lesson maybe from the Eddie Murphy film. But I mean, it's a little troublesome and worrying. But again, talented cast, and we'll see where they go. We haven't really got much information on the Haunted Mansion, and of course, we got to wait and see a trailer before we can really jump into any conclusions about conclusions, any conclusion, you know what I mean, about how this movie is going to turn out. Let's see, and then Scream or Scream 5, however you want to call it, which was recently in theaters, did pretty well, will be hitting digital March 1st, so actually tomorrow, the day after the recording, or you might be listening to this on the day it releases, March 1st. 2022 Scream 5, whatever you want to call it, will be officially on digital for you all to rent, probably $19.99 like the rest of the movies. If you don't feel like paying $19.99, you want to wait, you can spend $25 on the 4K Ultra Blu-ray DVD or whatever on April 5th. I'm still indifferent on how I feel about Scream 5. I'll call it Scream 5. I enjoyed parts and pieces, bits and pieces of it, but overall it's kind of just a hodgepodge rehash of the Scream movies, and just, it didn't really do much to really make it stand out all that much to me. I think I have it ranking wise in the middle of the pack right now. I haven't watched all the Scream films in a while, but I do know that I really enjoy the first movie and the fourth movie, so I wouldn't put it ahead of those two. That's just me. Let's see. Speaking of Scream, one of the writers by the name of Guy, I'm gonna mess up his last name, Busick. He did the writing for the new Scream movie. He also did writing for Castle Rock, and he's currently working on the next Final Destination movie. Was asked recently in an interview about what other horror franchise he would like to revive, since he's helped with Scream and Final Destination, and he went on to say, "quote In the future, I would like to write new versions of." You ready for this? A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. And I would like to write original films. I'm also very happy working on Final Destination Part 6. So, I mean, that's interesting. He's already been part of, you know, we'll see how the Final Destination thing goes. But Castle Rock did pretty well. I wish we still got a third season. And then Scream did pretty well. So, and the interesting part here is let's go ahead and take Friday the 13th out. That's still going through its own legal issues. We don't know what or when we'll get anything to do with Friday the 13th. But Nightmare on Elm Street, man. Nightmare on Elm Street, if I remember correctly, the rights reverted back to the Craven family. And then, of course, this guy just did a Craven franchise in Scream. And the people, the legacy cast, like Nev Campbell, said they appreciated the work that they came with. And they were doing respect to Wes Craven during that movie. So, I mean, shooting a Nightmare on Elm Street, you'd think he'd probably get pretty good leadway. And, the Craven family would probably see the success of Scream, as well as the behind the scenes information of how supportive the cast was towards this writer. We might be on the verge of a new Nightmare on Elm Street film. I think we're getting close, and it's getting close to hitting its 40th anniversary. Yeah, 40th anniversary, right? Because it came out in '84. So, um, yeah, man, we could be on the verge of them actually getting close to doing a Nightmare on Elm Street. That could be very interesting to see where that ends up going, because that's crazy, right? That could be really fun or really bad. But right now, of course, it's all speculative. We'll see where things end up going from there. But I personally like the idea. I think it's time. We've got the other horror icons out here just killing it right now. So I think it's time, man. Let's go ahead and give it. Unfortunately, like I said, Friday the 13th is, it's still dealing with its issues. But, and there's been some leadway there recently, but not enough to really feel like we're going to get anything new there. We'll see, man. We'll keep you posted. Of course, pay attention to this show or any other Thrill Me Network shows as we all deal with horror. We'll end up talking about it eventually. Maybe it can be a topic we can bring up before our WrestleMania show. Who knows? Let's see. John Carpenter was recently asked about which of his classic movies he would like to see a follow-up to, and he said, quote, I would like to do a sequel to The Thing or a continuation, something like that. Um, Interesting. Don't know if we need it, but I will definitely watch it. Now, if you remember back in 2020, which, a lot of people are trying to forget that year, Universal and Blumhouse were actually developing a new adaptation of the original novella. I like calling it novella, but it's novella, novel. Um, Who Goes There? So Universal and Blumhouse were developing some adaptation of Who Goes There, which of course served as the basis to the 1951 The Thing Around the World, and of course Carpenter's '80 remake. Now, you think about that, and the fact that John Carpenter recently worked with Universal and Blumhouse for the Halloween franchise, which is going to be releasing its final film later this year. That's that trilogy. Obviously, there'll be another Halloween movie down the line. Or so, I mean, it's very likely, I would say, as well. There's could be a chance that it could be an adaptation of Frozen Hell, which is a longer version of the tale that was recently unearthed. So we'll see what ends up happening there. I think it would definitely be interesting. A lot of people love and support John Carpenter's stuff. Speaking of, he wrote a theme song for Studio 666, the main theme. So we'll see what happens. Obviously it's just rumor at this point, but like I said, I don't know if we need it, but I'll gladly watch it. Also, speaking of things I don't think we need, but I'll gladly watch, Beetlejuice 2 rumors are back in the news, which again is not too surprising because Michael Keaton he's blowing up, which Michael Keaton is obviously a treasure, but it's just like it seems like he's everywhere now and it's just getting bigger and bigger. He just won a Screen Actors Guild Award for Dope Sick, and I mean, he's going to be in Morbius later this year, which they released a new trailer today. Check that out. Zach did a trailer reaction on the Romy Podcast Network for that, and the new Fantastic Beasts trailer. So check those out over the network on the YouTube. And he's of course going to be in The Flash, reprising his role as Batman. He's going to be in the Batgirl movie, reprising his role as Batman. So a lot of stuff going on there. Now we've got the Beetlejuice 2 rumors firing back up for the first time since 2007 maybe. Unless I missed something, might be 2017. It's got a 7 in it for sure. It's a 20 and there's a 7 somewhere in there. But now we're getting rumors that Brad Pitt's company, Plan B, has come aboard to produce a Beetlejuice 2, which could end up shooting this summer with Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder reprising their roles. Now, this, of course, hasn't been greenlit by Warner Brothers, and there's no commitment yet, or any real comments on this, but this is very highly speculated by a reliable source. So we'll see where this ends up going, man. But I mean, a Beetlejuice 2 movie would be fun. Like, I'm not gonna knock it. I love Michael Keaton. Beetlejuice is a great character, but do we need it? No. Will I watch it? Yeah, why not? And that'll do it for the news, man. So when we hit the end of the news, that means we move into the movies that are releasing this week, which we're going to fire off and start off with, of course, The Batman. Ba, 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 ba. Freaking been humming that song all week. Starting my day off on the ride to work, just playing that song on repeat. Probably going to do that all week leading up into the release of the film. But yes, The Batman is hitting theaters finally after so long of waiting for this. It is rated PG-13. It is a drama adventure. It's 2 hours and 56 minutes and will, of course, only be in theaters. It will be hitting streaming like in April, sometime in April. Batman ventures into Gotham City's underworld where a sadistic killer leaves behind a trail of cryptic clues. As the evidence begins to lead closer to home and the scale of the perpetrator's plans become clear, he must forge new relationships, unmask the culprit, and bring justice to the abuse of power and corruption that has long plagued the metropolis. The metropolis, what a word. Interesting. So yeah, the Batman highly been waiting to see this movie. Can't wait to see it, man. Can't wait to see it. A couple other films I wrote down that are coming out this week, mostly because I'm a fan of two people in this movie. Maybe a couple people in this movie. Asking for It, rated R, 2022, obviously. Mystery thriller drama. It's 1 hour 37 minutes. This will be limited release in theaters and will be on streaming same day. It stars Vanessa Hudgens. Love her to death. Love me some Baby V. Kiersey Clemens and Alexander Shipp are both also in this movie, and they lead a no mercy all-female gang in this edgy thriller. After a small-town waitress is sexually assaulted on a date, she meets Regina and Patrice and is recruited into their vigilante group of badass women. Together they strive to take down a society overpowered of corrupt men and seek the ultimate vengeance while getting their own version of justice. Also, my boy Ezra Miller is in this movie, so I'm already in for Vanessa Hudgens. You give me Ezra Miller, freaking absolutely gonna love this. Will this turn out being like Tick Tick Boom, where it's like, hey, Andrew Garfield's in it and Vanessa Hudgens in it? That's two of my favorite people, man. I'm gonna enjoy this movie no matter what. And then it becomes my favorite film of the year. Highly doubtful. Highly doubtful, just because we got the Batman, we got the Flash, we got Jurassic World Dominion all coming out this year that are highly anticipated for me. But I could probably end up really enjoying this movie. We'll see how it goes, man. Like I said, huge Vanessa Hudgens fan, huge Ezra Miller fan, so can't wait to see that. Hitting Disney Plus this week, we have West Side Story, which is up for some Oscars and all that stuff. It is PG-13. It is of course a romance musical, 2 hours 36 minutes. Love at first sight strikes when young Tony spots Maria at a high school dance in 1957 New York. Their romance helps to fuel the fire between the warring Jets and Sharks, two rival gangs vying for control of the streets. And last thing I got here is The Weekend Away. It is a mystery thriller. It's 1 hour 29 minutes, and this will be hitting Netflix. When her best friend vanishes during a girls' trip to Croatia, a woman races to figure out what happened. However, each clue yields another unsettling deception. That is The Weekend Away. So there's a couple movies I saw that are released this week that I want to go over with you, and I figured would be worth checking out, man. So that does it for the news and what's releasing this week. So I'm going to take a pause for the play and the trailer cause, and then we'll be back to talk about Nightmare Alley.
What year are we in?
1941.
What day is today?
Wednesday, I think.
Very well. As briefly as you can. Can you read minds?
I'll be seeing you.
Come on in and behold the mysteries of the universe.
In all familiar places.
I want to give you the world and everything in it.
What are you talking about? We got a little mind reading show.
There's a woman. Abigail.
Oh, God.
Teach me. Teach you. Everybody has some shadow from their past.
Oh, your trouble, ain't you?
The chestnut tree.
What if I told you I can get my hands on a two-person act force?
What is the object being held?
Pocket watch. Am I correct?
Master Stanton, can you kindly name them?
What's inside the bag?
A small pistol. You're not as hard to read as you think. You run a racket, same as me. If you help me, we can make quite a big dent in this town.
You barely know me.
Oh, I know. You're no good. And I know that, cuz. Neither am I.
This is not a carnival trick.
If your foot slips, we both fall.
We've had our share of snake charmers in the past. We deal with them.
What did you do, Stan? Why did you do that?
Sometimes you don't see the line till you cross it.
You don't fool people, Stan. They fool themselves.
All right, welcome back to the show. That was, of course, a trailer for Nightmare Alley, which is rated R for nudity, language, sexual content, strong, bloody violence. It is a mystery, thriller, crime movie. 2 hours, 30 minutes. Yes. And the synopsis goes like this. I'm going to cut the synopsis a little bit because I don't want to spoil anything. So, when charismatic but down on his luck Stanton, Carlisle, played by Bradley Cooper, endears himself to clairvoyant Xena, played by Toni Collette, and her has-been mentalist husband Pete, played by Davis Trennan. At a traveling carnival, he crafts a golden ticket to success using this newly acquired knowledge to grift the wealthy elite of 1940s New York society. And I kind of paused there after I gave the time frame because it kind of took me by surprise that this movie was 2 hours and 30 minutes because to me, it never felt that long. Like this movie did a great job of keeping me interested the whole time through. Like I was very intrigued about where these things were going and how things are going to pan out. Which is, of course, obviously what you want with a mystery thriller crime movie. Man, you want the mystery to be there. You don't want it to be like, oh, extremely obvious or over the top ridiculous or anything like that. Like it's not, you know, over the top. It's very well done. It's very dialogue driven, but again, like I said, in a way that keeps you very interested in the facts. It keeps your mind ticking. It's like, okay, where are we going with this? How's this going to play out? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? It's very cool and very well done movie. And I know, like going in, you get really worried because you see this cast and you're like, oh no, man, I don't know. And sometimes when they do these movies, they have all these talented people in it. You're like, oh, this is scary because sometimes it doesn't work out too well. So you look at this cast. You got Bradley Cooper, Kate Blanchett, Rooney Mara, Toni Collette, William Dafoe, Ron Perlman. I mean, just a who's who of actors, talented actors. Richard Jenkins, Davis Trannan, like I mentioned before. Just so many talented people in this one movie, and you're like, okay, how is this going to work out? How is this going to do? Are they overloading the cast to, fool you into thinking the movie's really good just because of the talent? Which I'm happy to say is not the case. The movie is a very solid movie and extremely, obviously, well acted with all of those talented people in it. Like, everybody does a fantastic job throughout this whole movie. Like, I don't think there is a bad character or performance to be seen anywhere during watching this movie. Like, everything is just top notch, spot on, very well done. And it kind of solidified for me again the fact of, you know, I don't follow Bradley Cooper's career all that much. I mostly know him because of, The Hangover, but obviously he's done other things. But I've never like followed and paid too much attention to him. But like seeing him in this movie gave me a little bit more of, oh, he's pretty dang good. Of course Toni Collette's awesome and all that stuff. And seeing Ron Perlman and all that's great. And Rooney Mara again, which we talked about Nightmare on Elm Street earlier. She was in the failed reboot, or maybe not failed reboot. If I remember correctly, that movie didn't make some money, but wasn't very well received by the fan base. Um, but it's good to see her career going, and she's great in the movie. And just again, the whole cast is just fantastic throughout the whole thing, and they freaking it solidifies, I think, that I can feel like putting Guillermo del Toro on like my list of directors that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see it just because he directed it. I've always felt like, I've like his vision, I like the way his movies work and everything. I know he won for Shape of Water, I think that's the name of the movie, which of course is like the Creature of the Black Lagoon, very heavily inspired by the Creature of the Black Lagoon. But um, I've always known like I'm interested in his movies because like the style of it's very, monster driven and all this stuff. It's very interesting. Shape of Water. That was the name of course, that has a creature. Pan's Labyrinth, that deals with the creature. You got Crimson Peak, which a lot of people don't talk about, but I did enjoy that movie. Um, so, I mean, with Crimson Peak and now Nightmare Alley, I feel like I like Guillermo del Toro a lot. And I feel like I can go to him and be like, okay, cool. And he's got Pinocchio coming up. That should be interesting as well. So I'm into whatever this guy is gonna, put out there. Like I feel very comfortable, putting him on the list. And then Antlers, I haven't seen that yet. He's behind that movie. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I need to rewatch that one because I don't know how I really feel about that one. Um, but I mean, overall, he's done enough for me in my head to be like, okay, cool. I can trust to watch his stuff. He's normally got something interesting going on in his movies. And again, that was something kind of interesting about Nightmare Alley itself is that it kind of gets billed as like this horror movie, but it's not really a horror movie. It's a thriller, and I think it's mostly because Guillermo del Toro's name's attached to it. And of course, The Shape of Water just came out, and he's got monsters in that. Again, Pan's Labyrinth, Antlers, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Crimson Peak. He's got like a history of like monsters and ghosts and you know things of that nature. And now to see this movie, which not a horror movie, it's not a monster movie or anything like that. It's just a straight up freaking tale and story of mystery, and it's just very well done, man. So, bravo to him, bravo to the whole cast. Like, I wouldn't say this was a highly anticipated movie for me the year that it came out in 2021, but I did want to see it, and unfortunately never got around to seeing it in theaters. If I did, it would have been probably pretty high on my list of films of 2021 because I can't think of anything bad to say about the movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes score, the critics gave it a 79%, the audience score gave it a 68%, and then IMDb gave it a 7.2 out of 10. I don't agree with any of those. I think it's much higher, but hey, we all have our own opinions, baby, and it's okay, man. We can all have our feelings about how we feel about movies. That's cool. We can live on, man. We all have our own opinions. So that's gonna pretty much do it, man. Like, hit the news, hit the what's releasing this week, and that's my review of Nightmare Alley. I highly suggest two very enthusiastic thumbs up to see that movie. Don't let the runtime fool you. It's a good mystery. It's going to keep you interested for the whole 2 hours and 30 minutes. And it is on. I watched it on HBO Max, so it should. I think it should stay on there. I don't know if it's a Warner Brothers film, but it should stay on there for a while. Either way, go ahead and go check it out as soon as you got time, man. I know it's like, man, it's been rough for me to find time to watch stuff, but over the weekend I watched so much stuff and I felt so good, man. It just felt so right to just sit down and freaking watch a bunch of movies, and then I got back to Riverdale today, so definitely I'm highly interested in finishing that episode. I want to see how that goes, but that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Hopefully the headset worked out good and wasn't horrible and I wasn't smacking in your ear or breathing in your ear the whole time. If I was, I apologize. This was a test to see how this will go in the future, as far as recording on this show and of course recording for live videos on the Thrill Me Podcast Network page. Be sure to check out and tune in to Mr. Wonderful's show that'll be releasing Wednesday, and be sure to tune in for Zach's Speakeasy, which releases every Thursday. And of course, check out the Facebook page, Thrill Me Podcast Network. Check out the YouTube page, Thrill Me Podcast Network, for updates and fun things like trivia, maybe some giveaways, all that good stuff, man. But as always, I appreciate you taking the time to support us, support myself with this show, support us as a network, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the day, week, month, year. Just be awesome, man. As always, remember that happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one remembers to turn on the light. Chat with you all next episode.
Thank you for joining me this week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to get updates on all new episodes. As well, follow me on Twitter at review_it_Rob. Stay tuned for more adventures.